One of the rare musicians who can combine power, hope, and suffering in a single line is Tim McGraw. However, what occurs if he experiences heartbreak? What occurs when a man who sings about resiliency and grief is forced to experience it firsthand? In the moment, his daughter is speaking up. Your heart will be broken, and then put back together by the way she said farewell. This isn't your average depressing celebrity headline, it's uncooked, it's true. So hold on, because the information you're about to hear goes beyond a simple diagnostic. It has to do with love. Legacy is at issue. The point at when everything was altered. In 2018, it all began with a vacation to Ireland, and believe me, when I say that everything in their life started to change quickly after that. On stage, Tim McGraw is doing what he does best, a passionate, humble and gentle performance that, let's face it, is already moving enough to move an audience to tears. After giving the microphone his all, the man simply passes out. People were in disbelief. Then, Faith Hill, who is usually the reliable one, comes out. He has been extremely dehydrated, and I'm sorry, but I have decided that he cannot return to the stage, she says calmly, as she stands in front of the audience. Faith did more than rescue the day. She reminded everyone that Tim was a human person, not a computer, first and foremost. However, there was more to that moment than just dehydration. It served as a major wake-up call, because after that it was evident that Tim was having difficulties rather than just being exhausted. For some time his body had been talking to him, but now it was yelling. Fans were devastated as word spread of Tim's terrible news. However, it was more than simply a headline for his daughter. It was her whole universe. Inverted. How can you bid the man who taught you everything farewell? When your heart is hurting, how can you find the right words? And at that poignant moment that has everyone talking, what precisely did she say? The last thing she said to her father may make you cry, so please stay with us through to the very end. The physical demands, the years of touring, and the wear and strain of the music industry had begun to catch up. His health suffered greatly during the ensuing years, particularly with regard to his bones and joints, and things had become pretty bad by 2024. The man had to have surgery on both of his knees, not just one. As if that weren't enough, the doctors also informed him that he would require back surgery, and not the short-term type, where you'll be out and about in a couple of weeks. Months of recuperation, counseling, and a great deal of patience were needed for this one. Tim had to make some painful phone calls as a result, of course. If you know Tim, you are aware of how deeply it must have devastated him when he decided to cancel the remainder of his standing room-only tour. For him, touring is a way of life, not simply a job. It's happiness. In addition, he was forced to leave a bull-riding Netflix series about which he was quite enthusiastic. He is in a great deal of agony right now, according to someone close to the family. He will also require months of recuperation and rehabilitation sessions following the procedure. Everything changed suddenly, not only for Tim, but also for everyone in his immediate vicinity, particularly his daughter Gracie. When a loved one is in pain, you understand how it feels. You have a strong sense that it is occurring to you. Furthermore, Gracie had witnessed her father's struggles before. She had really ignited his health journey years prior. The family circled the wagons throughout it all. As usual, Faith was there, composed and supportive. You may say whatever you want about famous couples. However, those two are reliable. She's always so good at reminding him to focus on all he has to be grateful for, someone close to him said. Don't we all need someone like that? To be honest. Someone who finds the bright side while we only see the ominous clouds. However, we must not overlook Gracie and everything. She wasn't only seeing her father's suffering, she was also juggling her personal affairs. She has been working tirelessly in the New York theatrical industry, attending practices and auditions and pursuing a passion that doesn't allow for leisure time. In addition, she now had to worry for her father. Not to be overlooked is the emotional aspect of remoteness. There is FaceTime, texting and all that, but nothing compares to being there in person. Gracie is in New York and her parents are in Nashville. That shame over not being there in person while your family is in pain. It's true, it wears you down. particularly if you're the type of person that is constantly eager to assist in any manner possible. Additionally, everything has a deeper layer, something that the McGraws can relate to. In 2004, Tim's father, Tug McGraw, passed away from glioblastoma. It is a brain tumor that is aggressive, and Tug went away at the age of just 59. Tim was plagued by his loss. It molded him. He is now coping with more than just the physical anguish as a result of his own health issues. He is struggling with the memory of his father's ordeal. You can bet that his daughters also feel that way. It seems as though the family's history of battling health issues has come full circle. Gracie now has to witness her father go through something she hoped she would never have to, gaining courage from common hardships. Before her dad's health problems ever made the news, Gracie McGraw was going through this very personal and very painful health struggle. The majority of people were unaware that she had been discreetly dealing with her own health issues. Nor was it something insignificant. It was something that many women experience, but almost ever discuss aloud. PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. You know, that seemingly very common illness is yet in some ways misunderstood. It wasn't like Gracie suddenly woke up and realized she had it. No, in order to receive that diagnosis, she had to go through a quite difficult process. In March 2022, she finally decided to talk about it. And believe me when I say that it wasn't some glitzy edited statement when she posted it on Instagram. It was uncooked. It was authentic. One of those blogs that made you feel a knot in your stomach. I just wanted to quickly share that I was recently diagnosed with PCOS, she stated. She wasn't doing it for attention, and you could sense that. She wished to assist anybody who might be experiencing the same perplexing symptoms. Tiredness and weight gain. Periods were irregular, but I had no idea what was going on. We are all aware of how cruel weight problems can be, particularly when it seems like your body is against you, girl. Isn't that just heartbreaking? She even said, to acknowledge that you have been holding yourself responsible for something that your body is unable to manage. Furthermore, PCOS involves more than simply weight gain. Numerous factors are impacted, including hormones, emotions, skin, and energy levels. Not to mention how it negatively impacts your emotional well-being. Dr. Rekha Kumar, who has treated countless PCOS patients, claims that the condition is a complete metabolic problem rather than only a hormone problem. In essence, your body produces too much insulin in response to carbohydrates. You know what insulin does? It keeps fat in reserve. Thus, you can understand how someone like Gracie may have felt stuck in her own flesh, trying everything but succeeding. Isn't it amazing how the one thing that gives you vitality can become your worst enemy? She didn't merely sit with the diagnosis after receiving it, she took action. Plot twist: she started taking drugs that are often prescribed for type 2 diabetes, since they also assist with PCOS. She first lived in Kusimiya and Ozempic, before relocating to Manjiro. And listen, the purpose of these medications was not to be attractive on Instagram or to be slender for the camera. They aimed to address the underlying cause of the issue by controlling her insulin response. Her physique began to alter shortly after that, not only physically, but also psychologically and emotionally. She went on to say that the medication she takes has given her a body she hasn't had in years, but in a positive way. Can we simply stop there? For example, because it's rare to hear someone discuss health and weight in such a gentle, understanding manner. Naturally, it went beyond the appearance of her body. Perhaps for the first time it was about loving her body once more. That's strong. She claimed that every day she discovered new reasons to adore her and new aspects of her. To be honest, just one statement is worthy of a standing ovation. For once we all want to gaze in the mirror without judging ourselves, don't we? The thing that most people overlook, though, is that Gracie's health journey involved more than simply physical wellness. She talked candidly about having severe ADHD. In addition to despair and anxiety, that combination, it's difficult. Your mind seems to be alternating between panic and disarray all the time. Additionally, your body isn't cooperating. Anyone may become exhausted by that type of everyday struggle. but before anything else, she made a conscious effort to address her mental health. I mean, isn't it the portion we typically overlook? How often do we attempt to alter our bodies, diets, or workout routines without taking into account our mental health? If I hadn't taken the right actions for my mental health, she continued, I doubt I would have ever let myself to attend a doctor's visit like this. And that's so genuine, isn't it? Like if your insides are collapsing, you can't even start to mend what's on the exterior. What actually aided her? Consistency, honestly. A combination of factors. One thing that has really helped me with mental health issues is something that is consistent, she remarked. Doesn't that resonate? Having something stable might feel like a life raft when life seems uncertain. She also began to spend more time outside. Spending more time in nature turned been her go-to reset button. And who is to blame for her? There are times when a stroll amid trees is preferable to treatment. And among the most underappreciated, perhaps, she began to value her freedom. She said that because she had a strong network of friends, she felt at ease being by herself. Of course, her family is also fantastic. Imagine, for example, belonging to one of the most well-known musical families and yet having the time to truly discover who you are. It takes courage to do it. Her entire outlook on chronic disease also shifted at some point. She ceased to blame herself. Do you think that's possible? I've likely been wondering, what am I doing wrong? For years. She understood that this was a medical issue rather than a personal shortcoming. It wasn't until I started on Mounjaro that I discovered PCOS is a chronic condition, and you weren't the issue, according to another lady with the condition. That really got to Gracie. The number of individuals who go around believing they are broken, when in reality, their bodies only require assistance, is astounding. Naturally, her dad's health issues soon entered the scene. Suddenly, she developed a profound, intimate awareness of what it's like to deal with significant health issues in the family, thanks to all the lessons she had learnt about managing her own disease. Tim McGraw has been candid about his father's early death from brain cancer at the age of 59. Loss like that leaves a mark. Additionally, Tim has discussed diabetes awareness, particularly how it impacts people from various backgrounds. I've personally witnessed the effects of diabetes on people from all walks of life, including my family, friends and fans, he added. As you can see, there is a little yet impactful overlap between Gracie's and Tim's stories. Tim's family was taken aback by the unexpected diagnosis he got, but what really crushed people's hearts was his daughter's silent farewell. What was it she said? What is Tim's private life like? What does this signify for the future of a guy who has dedicated his life to his family and country music? We're delving deeply into the incident that affected millions of people and rocked their family. Hold on tight, for by the time this film ends, you will not only comprehend what transpired, but you will also experience it. The importance of family during difficult times. Do you know how some families simply fall apart when things get difficult? The McGraw family, however, is the exact reverse of that. When things start to go south, it's as if their support and affection become stronger. To be honest, it's very lovely to witness, especially when you see how much they depend on one another when someone is struggling. When it comes to his health, Tim McGraw, bless him, has gone through a lot. Furthermore, it's not a one-time event. It has been a wild ride. However, you wouldn't be aware of it, just by observing how resilient his family has been, supporting him through every challenge. It seems as though their home has transformed into a peaceful, potent small stronghold of healing, love and unity. And this is what it looks like when a family truly supports one another, if you've ever wondered. Let's now take a moment to discuss Faith Hill because gosh, she is quite remarkable. She is more than just Tim's spouse, she is like a soft landing pad for him. To be honest, he probably had his strongest supporter in one. Imagine having someone by your side during a health crisis, who is not only making sure you take your medications, but also quietly reminding you of all the things for which you are still thankful. Faith is that. His mood has been lifted by her, preventing him from thinking negatively, and reminding him that even on the terrible days, there is still a lot of beauty in the world. Nor is this anything that has never happened to her before. After all, These two had been wed for over 30 years. That's over 30 years of developing together, helping one another through anything from private hardships to serious medical emergencies. And yet, she is holding it down as if it were her life's work. But hold on, faith alone isn't enough. Not at all. Gracie, Maggie, and Audrey, their kids, are like this powerful trio of light and love. Even though they are grown ladies with their own lives, it's actually very remarkable how close they are. You would assume that age or distance would have made a difference, but they didn't. They continue to perform together in videos, showcasing their crazy musical kinship that is obviously ingrained in their DNA. And those times, they are more than simply music. They are about making connections. They seem to utilize music to communicate things that are too difficult to utter aloud, and to keep their emotions in tune. Have you ever witnessed a family find delight in singing despite their suffering? They are that. Each time they appear together, it serves as a reminder of the therapeutic value of shared experiences. In particular, Gracie has been quite forthcoming about her own health issues and her family. It will strike you squarely in the chest. "My family is amazing," she stated literally. She clearly means every word she says. It's not just nonsense. Having such unwavering support is crucial when you've had difficult times yourself. The fact that the attention doesn't only go in one direction is much more lovely. Tim and Gracie aren't the only ones receiving all the affection. This is a back-and-forth situation. Everyone contributes. Everyone benefits. To be honest, it resembles this silent tiny circle of strength that never stops turning. And then they came together in support of Faith's father when he fell ill. They weren't content to wait for things to improve. No, they organized themselves. They coordinated everything with the aid of this care management tool. You name it: appointments, paperwork, treatment plans, etc. And in famous households you don't really hear about it, do you? It had nothing to do with glamour. It all came down to being there, becoming active, and ensuring that their loved one felt supported at every turn. And may we pause for a moment to admire how the McGraws managed to maintain happiness despite the challenges of life. I'm referring to their evenings with a festive theme. Who after all does that? Dressing up in movie or book-inspired costumes, making theme-appropriate meals, and constructing their appearances solely from of items they may find around the house. It's more than just cute, it's brilliant. When everything else feels hectic, this small bit of normalcy helps them stay anchored. Consider it. You're fighting a disease. Grief is what you're coping with. After that though, you get to dress up like a character from your favorite television program, and have supper with your family while laughing. In a way, that is also medicine. What's the best part? They maintain that connection even when they are separated by distance, such as when Gracie is in New York pursuing her Broadway ambitions. They're messaging, FaceTiming, and participating in each other's lives however they can. Because of their relationship, it makes no difference how far away they are. It is indestructible. They manage to grieve together, support one another, and carry on even after losing their cherished dog Stromboli. Because this family does just that. They don't flee from suffering. They go hand in hand through it. And I'm not the only one who finds this romantic. It is supported by genuine research. Everything becomes better when families are thus interested in one another's care. Clinical judgments, emotional healing, and health literacy. Everything improves. And the McGraws are a prime example of it. They show up, even when they're not flawless. They have a strong love. They have a great deal of regard for one another. Tim has even claimed that his girls motivate him, and are the life of the party. For example, how frequently do you hear a father say that? Not only do I admire them, but they also motivate me. Mutual affection and appreciation like that is what gets people through the most difficult times. Tim is really proud of his girls. He comments on how strong, self-sufficient, and grounded they are. And it's clear that he doesn't say it only to sound nice during an interview. It's true, he is pleased of them because they are decent people, not because they are well-known or gifted, which they are. And that's saying something in a society where individuals might lose themselves due to fame. Therefore, if the McGraw family teaches us anything, it is that love is the best medicine. Because when your body begins to fail you, emotional ties are more important than anything else. and that you find the strength to continue no matter how frightening things get when your family surrounds you with that type of unshakable love. They serve as a real-life illustration of how to weather life's storms without collapsing. To be honest, we could all pick quite a few tips from them, transforming suffering into meaning. You know how sometimes everything in life suddenly hits you at once, and you either shatter, or in some miraculous way, start to discover your purpose in the midst of the chaos. With Gracie McGraw, that is just what transpired. Her tale isn't one of those excessively dramatized Hollywood redemptions or some Instagram makeover. No, Gracie's path is genuine. Really, it's rough and untidy, and filled with times when you think you're barely hanging on. Then though, something changes. For her, purpose didn't arise out of nowhere. Some of her worst moments, the ones that many people don't discuss aloud, came crawling out of her. As you can see, Gracie has been quite forthcoming about her issues with her physical and emotional well-being. And let's face it, not many individuals, particularly in the spotlight, have the courage to do it. She has simultaneously struggled with depression, anxiety, ADHD, and PCOS. How overpowering must that be, do you think? However, she has made the decision to transform her suffering into something greater, something that benefits others, rather than running away from it, or acting as though nothing is wrong. She seems to have concluded that although this is difficult, perhaps someone else won't feel as alone if I talk about it. The way Gracie described the connection between her physical and emotional health is among the most impactful things she has ever revealed, and it still shocks people to their core. Her unadulterated honesty is what draws people to her. Gracie isn't out here acting like she knows everything. She discusses the difficult things, the gloomy bouts that leave her speechless. She said she had experienced a particularly bad one that lasted almost 3 weeks. 3 weeks. It's more than a bad day or two. That's feeling like you're drowning every morning and not knowing when it will stop. Then one day, she suddenly understood something. The next day, she added, it dawned on me that I had to return to myself, or else I would completely lose it. It takes courage. Most people can't even conceive to be so alert. She's also doing more than simply talking the talk. Gracie has been doing the same thing. She has discovered techniques to care for herself that go beyond the common recommendations to practice yoga and drink water. She has been very forthright about how regularly taking her prescriptions has changed her life. As she stated, having a constant routine has been incredibly beneficial for me in terms of mental health issues. It's not about a miracle remedy. Even if it's only one piece of the jigsaw, it's about establishing structure. But for her, it goes beyond prescription drugs and doctor's appointments. She said that spending more time outside and simply being in nature has become a significant part of her rehabilitation, which was one of the loveliest and most relatable things she said. Isn't that so straightforward, but so underappreciated? As in, when did any of us last stand outside without looking at our phones, take a deep breath, and let the sunlight shine on our faces? Those peaceful times have begun to seem therapeutic to Gracie, and to be honest, that level of self-awareness is admirable. She isn't out here acting as though she knows everything. She's constantly learning, still working things out, and still navigating the highs and lows of long-term illnesses and struggles with mental health. The way she chooses to communicate her experience, however, is different. The positive, the negative, and the downright ugly. By doing this, she is subtly assisting individuals all throughout the world in feeling heard, noticed, and a bit less embarrassed about their struggles. Tim McGraw has always been his family's pillar of support. However, it was his daughter who abruptly altered everything due to a sad condition. They had to face the most difficult situation of all. What did she say though? Why now? In reality, how is the family faring behind the scenes? This is not only a tale of a well-known vocalist, it concerns a father, a daughter, and the most agonizing words they have ever spoken. The truth about her farewell will hit you in the heart, so don't waste any time. Tim McGraw and his daughters, particularly Gracie, share a strong relationship. It's much more than just music, performances, and prizes. His daughters are clinging to a legacy of morals, morality, and life lessons that this guy has truly poured his heart and soul into creating, in addition to his ability. To the outside world, Tim McGraw may be considered a major figure in country music, the voice, the sold-out gigs and the cowboy hat. But Dad is so much more to his daughters. He is an exemplary example of what it is to be human, honest and resilient. Moreover, Gracie, she seems to have a unique bond with him, since she is the outspoken and sensitive person that she is. Do you know the type of connection when a father and daughter are friends in addition to being family? They are that. What's truly lovely though, is that Tim changed and didn't simply remain in the role of the renowned dad box or the provider. He expanded and staggered, got back up and continued to flourish. We all desire it from our parents, don't we? The portion that truly makes you feel something is right here. The one that sort of woke him awake was Gracie. When she noticed that her father's health was deteriorating, she told him bluntly, "Geez, Dad, you need to do something." And he actually paid attention. He was serious about it. He actually changed things. There was more to that moment than health. It was about mutual respect, trust and vulnerability. And everything in their relationship changed as a result. Because being a good father when everything is going well is one thing. However, it takes next-level parenting to allow your child to witness your lowest point and still decide to climb beyond it. Additionally, it's clear that Tim cherishes his girls' independence. He's really pleased of their independence and strength of character. He's not interested in little copies of himself. He desires that they be themselves. He simply supports them from the sidelines, never attempting to lead them into his world until they so choose. Whether it's Gracie pursuing her Broadway ambitions, or her sisters pursuing completely unrelated hobbies. And we all want that type of support, don't we? That silent, steadfast, I'll always be there for you type of love. Gracie isn't only taking notes anymore, she is upholding the morals that her father instilled in her. She isn't attempting to be an exact replica of him, which is what makes her so awesome. She has her own fire and taste. She has applied all of the lessons she has learned from observing her father to her own path. She is leading by example by being candid about her battles with PCOS and raising awareness of mental health issues. It isn't a performance, it's intimate. Like her father, she has come to understand that being vulnerable does not equate to weakness. In fact, that's where the true power lies. To be honest, how many individuals have the courage to openly discuss difficult topics in order to make others feel less alone? That is significant. She has also learned how to balance things that many of us find difficult, such as maintaining close family relationships, even when life becomes hectic, and giving equal attention to her physical and emotional health. The fact that Gracie is able to maintain her composure in the face of Tim's health uncertainty is even more heartwarming. Not in a loud, dramatic manner, but rather in a steady, trustworthy, sympathetic way that makes you feel comfortable simply being around her. She seems to have transformed into this beacon of quiet strength. Thank you for viewing. For more videos, please like, comment and subscribe if you liked this one. Click the next video that appears on your screen to see more exciting stories.